it was only when I read Ferguson's book that I understood America almost fell apart over deciding the location of the capital and what was the undercurrent of that dynamic and of that tension, not exclusively, but very significantly around continuing the practice of the institution of slavery. And unfortunately, that was the deciding factor of why indeed we ended up with the capital here. These were extraordinary men, though, extraordinary men. James Madison was a brilliant man who was the principal author of the United States Constitution. Thomas Jefferson, he was the Renaissance man in every sense of the word. And he is the man who authored the language that inspires people to this day. When Abraham Lincoln was in the midst of a civil war, what document did he turn to? The Declaration of Independence, because he knew that was the document that would keep us together. It is so hopeful, it's so uplifting. And George Washington, you have to admire George Washington. He's a man that managed to put together a ragtag group of volunteers who had no training, limited discipline, and in many instances, not even shoes. And they had to deal with cannon fire and a disciplined, formidable Navy, and he pulled it off. He won. And he is also the person who had the drive and determination that this, and it's my home, but it was originally, they say, a swamp. It was nothing really in the way of a real presence. And it has been transformed into one of the most majestic, beautiful cities in the world. That was his drive, George Washington's drive. And yet at the same time, these three extraordinary human beings were the instrument of a malignancy that still threatens the body politic of our country today. Because even though finally we had the 13th Amendment and ended slavery, and we had a few moments of affirmative action, unfortunately, that racial hierarchy, that caste system remains with us today. And so that is the contradiction. But we who are members and part of this series offer this series with great hope, because we know about that extraordinary experience that allowed us to beat the most formidable Navy in the world. We know that we had the capacity to produce this extraordinary city that is one of the great capitals of the world. We know that we have always, in the toughest of times, found a way to come together and to achieve is what they promised and what we all believe in, that more perfect union. That's what the series is about. That's what we're hopeful of, and that we see ourselves as that great American family, that family of America. And that's what we are determined that we will, honor and celebrate today.